Yes, Bhagavad start. Yes.
Namaskar. Namaskar.
Oh, hidden life, vibrant in every atom. Oh, hidden light, shining in every creature. Oh, hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee, he is also one with every other. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Dear brothers and sisters, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
As you know, today is a very important day for theosophists all over the globe. White Lotus Day, the passing away of Dr. H.P. Blavatsky, the founder of the Theosophical Society. Since his death in 1891, we are observing this day as White Lotus Day. And today we have a very eminent speaker to talk on the importance of White Lotus Day. Brother Narendra Shah, he is the General Secretary of East and Central African Section. We warmly welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
He was born and brought up at Nairobi in Kenya. He joined the Theosophical Society in Nairobi in 1971 when he was just 17 years old. And recently he completed his Golden Jubilee as a member of the Theosophical Society in 2021. So he's a very senior member, and his biodata says he was introduced to the Theosophical Society through the game of table tennis. I don't know. I think he will explain what it is exactly. Yeah, he's a very active member of the TS in Nairobi since 1975 and East and Central African Section since 1980. He was the chairman of the Nairobi Lodge for several years. A very good organizer, and was the secretary of the 7th World Congress of the Theosophical Society in December 1982 at Nairobi with the theme, Live to Benefit Mankind. He's an international speaker invited by various sections and countries. He's a regular contributor of articles in Theosophist. Many of you are familiar with his articles. And Brother Narendra Shah has also worked on the boards of a number of educational and social institutions. He has a keen interest in wide variety of subjects and fields. And we are very lucky to have a speaker like Brother Shah on this auspicious day of White Lotus Day. I don't want to stand in between you and the speaker since he's going to talk to you the details of the White Lotus Day and about the great soul, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the co-founder of the Theosophical Society. Thank you. Brother Shah.
Thank you. Good morning, brothers and sisters. One of the most important days in the Theosophical calendar is the White Lotus Day, which is commemorated each year on 8th May. The first international president of the Theosophical Society, Colonel Henry Steele Olcott, suggested that this day be called White Lotus Day. Let us look at the reasons why this day is called the White Lotus Day. Well, Madam Blavatsky's most amazing, interesting, adventurous, mysterious, purposeful, and inspiring life of just under 60 years is the very reason why this day is called White Lotus Day. Madam Blavatsky, the co-founder of the Theosophical Society, had requested that there be a day in each year set aside to recall the society itself, to think that out of the grossness, out of the chaos of things dark, in due season grew a very precious flower, something which gave birth to a new movement called the Theosophical Society. After a very, very eventful life, completely dedicated to the work of the Theosophical Society and its inner founders, Madam Blavatsky left her physical body on 8th May 1891, some 131 years ago. This day is also commemorated as the White Lotus Day because a lotus is the symbol of the flower of perfection. Even though it comes out of mud and water, it grows totally untainted, unaffected by the grossness surrounding it, into a beautiful flower, completely pure. The lotus has also been associated with the evolution in the secret doctrine, the Magna Carta written by Madam Blavatsky herself. The lotus is considered to have reached perfection. Therefore, the state of an evolved being in whom the Atma has fully unfolded is compared to the lotus. Such a spiritual soul spreads beauty everywhere, just like a lotus. Now, in the next 35 minutes or so, we are going to look at a very, very small part of the very larger than large life that Blavatsky has lived. And though I will not be touching much on a number of facets of her life, we will actually be looking at the character sketch of Madame Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky was born a little after midnight, between 11th and 12th August 1831 at 1:42 a.m., which made the superstitious peasants who were the family servants say that she had power over demons and spirits. And she left this physical world on 8th May 1891. So she was not quite 60 years old, and yet was often referred to as the old lady. From early childhood, Helena lived in two worlds. One was a mystical world to which no one around her had a key, not even her wise old grandmother. But it was intensely vivid and real to Helena. though it held many strange mysteries. This mystical world was actually her real world. The other world was a tomboy world, a world of huge enjoyment where she must have her own way at all costs. This was the typical nature of Madame Blavatsky. She must have her own way at all costs. It was in this man's world that she had learned to ride any Cossack horses. When quite a small child, she was curious about a picture that hung high up on the wall and was covered by a veil. She was always instructed not to touch that picture. And anything that was a no for Madame Blavatsky, at that time just Helena, she must do it. That was her character. As it was not shown to her, she placed a table against the wall, put another smaller table on top of that table, then put another chair on top of that small table, and then climbed up. Steadying herself with her hand on the dusty wall, she reached out for the veil, but lost her balance. She knew nothing more till she found herself on the floor. Surprisingly, all the furniture which was against the wall was in its accustomed positions, the veil in its place, and only a child's handprint on the dusty wall to show where she had been. At 6 years of age, she and her younger sister went to live with her father, an army officer. And she received much of her incidental education from her father's orderlies. At 10, she began to ride astride and continued to do so to the horror of her feminine relatives until she was 15. In her most daredevil escapades, the outer world sometimes intruded itself with the inner world. Once her horse became frightened and bolted. She fell, her foot caught in the stirrup, and she hung down, head and shoulders reaching the ground, while the horse galloped homeward. Many riders have been badly injured or killed in this kind of incident, and it seemed nothing short of a miracle that this 14-year-old girl survived without being killed or even injured slightly. She would have been killed had she not been supported and held up from the ground by invisible hands until the horse was stopped. Later, she related to her sister that she distinctly felt around her a strange sustaining power which seemed to hold her up in defiance of gravity. At the age of 14, she was taken to Europe to further her musical education. She was a talented pianist, and years later, just before going to America in 1873, she made a concert tour as Madame Laura. Another interesting aspect of her life, in 1848, at the age of 17, she was married to General Blavatsky, a friend of her father and fully her father's age. It had been said that a nurse remarked to her that she would never marry, as no man would ever propose to her. She accepted the challenge and succeeded in making the general propose to her. Remember her nature. Anything she was defied, anything she was challenged, anything she was told not to do is the very thing she would want to do. So she succeeded in making the general propose to her. But as soon as the general proposed, she wanted to get out of the bargain, but her family made her keep her word. She was married with Orthodox ceremony, but after 3 months, she ran away. During her short life of 60 years, she traveled extensively throughout the world, covering practically all the 5 continents. Remember, this was a time almost 180 years back, at a time when women were not allowed to do so many things that men were allowed. And to think that she traveled all alone as a woman, traveling to such places alone where men with a full support would not even dare to dream of going. Madame Blavatsky did exactly that. Then began the second 20-year period of her life. In 1851, Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was visiting London with her father when she met her master in the flesh and had a long talk with him. He outlined the work he wanted her to do, and she agreed to dedicate her life in his service. The discussion at this meeting and all that happened afterwards is well known to most of the members. Since the masters protect themselves from curiosity seekers by keeping secret their dwelling places, and since she visited many of them or their pupils and traveled to distant places on commission for them, it is not surprising that Madame Blavatsky kept vague and uncertain some of her travels. However, we do know some of the things she did and some of the places she visited. I'll briefly tell you about a few places. Very briefly, at Quebec, she investigated the Red Indian medicine men. In New Orleans, she became acquainted with some Negro voodoos, but was warned from them by her master. In Mexico, she probably traveled in men's clothes, but this was so horrible to 19th century sensibilities that it is only hinted at in her early biographies. She visited Peru, India, Burma, Siam, Java, China, etc. In 1860, she went to the Caucasus to visit her grandparents and sister and lived there for 4 years. After that, she went to Serbia, Greece, and Egypt and met the master Hilarion in Cyprus. She must have been in Tibet on 7th November 1870 when her aunt received the famous letter from Master Cage, reassuring her about the health and welfare of her niece. As many of you might know, her parents, her family members, and everyone was quite worried about her whereabouts and where she was, how she was, because for a long time, because of her such an extensive travel, she had not communicated with anyone. So her aunt was constantly being worried, and at many a times, she even approached some of the seances to find out her whereabouts. At that time, Master Cage understood the plight of the aunt. So he wrote a letter to the aunt and assured her about her health and welfare of her niece. Knowing that the Master KH is a musician and both a pianist and organist, one wonders if music was a part of her training there. It was after this stay in Tibet that she made the concert tour as Madame Laura. At infrequent intervals during the rest of her life, she delighted her friends by her brilliant playing without practice. At this moment, I'm sure those who have studied Masters and the Path will remember the very special and rare piano in Master KH's dwelling. In 1870, she sailed through the Suez Canal to Cyprus and then on to Greece, Egypt, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, and a number of places before reaching Russia in May 1872. In the spring of 1873, she went to Paris. Here, she received a letter from Master Moria asking her to embark without delay for America. And most of the Theosophists know what her work was when she was asked to go to America. With Madame Blavatsky's journey to America, under orders to find Colonel Henry Steele Olcott, began the third 20-year period of Madame Blavatsky. early in July 1873, the ship docked in New York. She first met Colonel Olcott at the Eddy Farm at Chittenden, Vermont. Then on 17th November 1875, they founded the Theosophical Society in New York. The rest is old history, and most of the members are familiar with. However, we need to look at one more aspect of Madame Blavatsky's life. Who was this madam? Who was this woman, H.P. Blavatsky? What was the secret of her sometimes contradictory personality? The often varying facets of her nature. In order to understand her character and her role in the setting of the Theosophical Society, it is necessary to peep into the past lives and her connection with the masters of wisdom. In Men, Whence, Whither and How, the very famous book written by Dr. Annie Besant and Bishop C.W. Leadbeater, where they report on occult investigations. They report of an event in the city of the Golden Gate, in the continent of Atlantis, approximately 220,000 years BC, when there was a king who had a young prince and a captain of the palace guard whose duty was to protect the prince. Now, there was a rebellion in some part of this kingdom, and some rebels attacked the palace to kill the prince about 220,000 years back. But the captain of the guards threw himself over the prince when the rebels attacked, thus saving the prince. But the captain was mortally wounded and lay dying with blood dripping from his chest wounds. The rebels, however, were driven off, and when the king arrived and saw the dying captain, he was deeply touched and said, "The blood shed for me and mine lies between us, binding us now. And ask what you will, and it shall be granted to you." The rough but utterly devoted warrior captain desired only one thing, that he might be with his master and the little prince for all lives to come. Friends, thus was set up the bond between Master Moria, one of the inner founders of the society, and the outer founders, Madame Blavatsky and Colonel Henry Still Olcott. It is because of these imperishable links that the masters chose H.P. Blavatsky and H.S. Olcott for this great task. H.P. Blavatsky was also with the same master in another previous life. Hence, when she spent 2 years in Tibet with the master K.H.N.M. during her training for the great work, her closeness with the masters could be seen from several incidents during this period and in subsequent part of life. In a letter written to Mr. A.P. Sinnett, in January 1886, H.P. Blavatsky talks of a stay at the Mahatma Kechi's house in Tibet. At that time, in answer to a question from Mahatma Kech in reference to a dead aunt of HPB, she says, I remind can't, instead of saying, I can't remember. However, the closeness between the masters and HPB was such, Master Kech smiled and said, funny English you use. At another time, few months later, Mahatma Kech told her to try to pick out of my head even the little I know of it. This was in reference to a particular incident where HPB was asking Mahatma Kech. So Mahatma Kech says, try to pick out of my mind. And putting his hand on her forehead in the region of the memory and squeezed his fingers on it. This treatment continued for 2 months. Later, when HPB was ready to leave Tibet, the Master Kech laughingly tells her, well, if you have not learned much of the sacred sciences and practical occultism, you have at any rate learned English, a little English. You speak it now only a little worse than I do. Looking at HPB's personality, we see a woman with tremendous willpower, unselfishness, humor, and simplicity. At times, childlike inner innocence of worldly matters, which resulted in her being cheated by many in America and India of her money and things. Her humor was often dedicated to herself. In one incident, before she met Mr. Sinnett, she wrote to him, are you sure you want to meet me? She said, not to mind me, a hippopotamus of a woman, totally unfit for civilized society. She directed the humor to herself. Always willing to sacrifice everything for the cause of Theosophy and the master, whom she venerated and loved. She said in reference to the Coulomb affair in Paris in 1884. All of you know the Coulomb affair and how she was told by or accused by the Coulombs to have forged a lot of things. She wanted to save the master's face. So she said, if by accusing publicly and proclaiming myself a fraud in all the papers, I can do this good to the TS and make the veneration of the Mahatmas greater, I shall do it without a moment's hesitation. Absorbed altogether in the cause as I was and still am, I think of nobody. May I perish, but may the cause flourish. She has suffered acutely from inconsiderations, hostilities, and unkindness of a world not yet ready for her wisdom. Yet, with unflinching zeal and sheer willpower, she accomplished so much during her lifetime. In reference to her sometimes excitable nature, the Mahatma K.H. writes, and this is in reference to why Madame Blavatsky, who is so deep into occultism, has such an excitable nature. And Mahatma K.H. writes, this state of hers is intricately connected with her occult training in Tibet. And since she was being sent out alone in the world to gradually prepare the way for others, one of her bodies had to be left aside behind in Tibet. And they say, after nearly a century of fruitless search, our chiefs had to avail themselves of the only opportunity to send out a European body upon European soil to serve as a connecting link between that country and our own. Now, no man or woman, unless he be an initiate of the fifth circle, can leave the precincts of Bodlas and return back into the world in his integral whole. Now, the integral whole is the 7 bodies of a man. They say one of, at least of all his 7 satellites, has to remain behind to form the necessary link, the necessary wire of live transmission. Madame Blavatsky was a person who could see through anyone whom she met, and therefore some really liked her while others disliked her. Those who liked her, HPB at best was a quaint, strange woman, a psychological riddle, impulsive but very kind-hearted. We, those under the garb of eccentricity and folly, find a profounder wisdom in her inner self than you will ever find yourselves able to perceive. Traits of her inner nature, the most delicate and refined. These were the words of Master K.H. She wrote extensively, and her notable works included Isis Unveiled and the Secret Doctrine, providing a storehouse of knowledge. In fact, it is being admitted even by the scholars of repute that the knowledge contained in the Secret Doctrine on the esoteric wisdom or Brahmvidya has not been fully realized by the world, and its full implication will only be realized in the future when the intuitive faculty fully unfolds in man. So those of the members who study esoteric doctrine and find it difficult, remember, we have a long way to go till the intuitive faculty fully unfolds in man. During the years of her greatest turmoil in her life, 1885 to 1891, in the midst of intense agonies following the report of the Society for Psychical Research, she wrote some of her greatest works: The Secret Doctrine, Voice of the Silence, Key to Theosophy, etc. Whilst writing The Secret Doctrine, she fell seriously ill, and the doctors pronounced her disease incurable. Her master, Master M, or Mahatma M, gave her a choice: freedom from her disease-ridden body, or life to finish the secret doctrine. But he warned that this life, then there would be terrible suffering. She had the choice to leave the physical body or to continue this physical body, but with a lot of suffering. Without any hesitation, she chose the suffering simply to complete the writing of the secret doctrine. Such was her self-sacrificing nature. Such was her devotion to her master and his work. Bishop C.W. Leadbeater, in writing about her, states, if I were asked to mention Madame Blavatsky's most prominent characteristic, I should unhesitatingly reply, power. Apart from the great masters of wisdom, I have never known any other person from whom power so visibly radiated. Any man who was introduced to her at once felt himself in the presence of a tremendous force to which he was quite unaccustomed. He realized with disconcerting vividness that those wonderful pale blue eyes so clearly through him, and not infrequently she would drop some casual remark which proved to him that his apprehensions in that regard were well founded. Some people did not like to find themselves so unsuspectfully transparent, and for that reason, they cordially hated Madame Blavatsky, while others loved her with wholehearted devotion, knowing well how much they owed her and how great is the work she has done. Clever she certainly was, not a scholar in the ordinary sense of the word, yet possessed of apparently inexhaustible stores of unusual knowledge on all sorts of out of the way, unsuspected subjects. Witty, quick at repartee on all sorts of out of the way, unsuspected subjects, a most brilliant conversationalist and a dramatic raconteur of the weirdest stories I have ever heard. Many of them her own personal experiences. She was an indefatigable character from early in the morning until late at night, and she expected everyone around her to share her enthusiasm and her marvelous endurance. She was always ready to sacrifice herself for the sake of the great work upon which she had engaged. Utter devotion to her master and his work was the dominant note of her life. And though now she wears a different body, that note still sounds out unchanged. And when she comes forth from her retirement to take charge once more of the society which she founded, we shall find it ringing in our ears as a clarion call round our old friends and new, so that through all the ages that work shall still go on, the work of the society. Such was the description of Madame Blavatsky by Bishop C.W. Leadbeater. The society will go on and on with people like Blavatsky coming lives after lives to carry on this great work. And I'm sure many of us would be willing to join her in her work. So though some members often feel that the Theosophical Society is a dying society, here is a statement from Bishop C.W. Leadbeater, which gives us so much to think. Friends, such was the character known as H.P. Blavatsky, the co-founder of the Theosophical Society, and an initiate and disciple of the masters who were the inspiration behind the founding of the society. On this White Lotus Day, once every year, we see and reflect what this society is about, what it has done, and what it can do. It has been the builder of a far greater pattern than any one person in it knows anything about. It may not be making a great noise. It may not be doing things that we look at as important in life, but it is actually by its very preoccupation with ideas, by the people whom it sends out, it is forming a nucleus for the universal brotherhood of mankind. It does actually set something alight on the inner planes, and these contacts are the most priceless things in life. Curious initiations go on all the time among such people. Annually, it is a tradition that on this White Lotus Day, members gather together and read passages from the Bhagavad Gita, the Light of Asia, and the Voice of Silence. On today's White Lotus Day, let us remind ourselves of Madame H.P. Blavatsky and all that she stood for. Let us all dedicate ourselves to the great work that was so dear to her. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Narendra Shah, for your enlightening talk on H.P. Blavatsky's marvelous life and her teachings. You started your talk with the importance of the symbol of lotus or Padma. It is stated in the Secret Doctrine that there are no ancient symbols without a deep and philosophical meaning attached to them, their importance and significance increasing with their antiquity. Such is the lotus. It is a flower sacred to nature and her gods, and represents the abstract and the concrete universe, standing as the emblem of the productive powers of both spiritual and physical nature. It was held as sacred from the remotest antiquity by the Aryan Hindus, the Egyptians, and by the Buddhists after them. It was reverted in China and Japan and adopted as a Christian emblem by the Greek and Latin churches, who made of it a messenger, and do now the Christians, who have replaced it with the water lily. This is the statement of lotus in the Secret Doctrine. You made a character sketch of H.P. Blavatsky. Her two worlds, mystical world and real world. Mystical world is unknown to every one of us. Incidents in her life. She was marvelously saved by her master at the critical situations in her life, though when he was riding the horse, when she was wounded in some war, everywhere we can see that her master was always watching her, though they physically met in London at her age of 20. And her various aspects, characteristics of Blavatsky, like she was a great musician, pianist, and she traveled extensively in 5 continents. Great traveler. She made concerts as Madame Laura. In 1870, she traveled in Italy and Russia under this name, Madame Laura, and conducted musical concerts. Her life was very wonderful. She was a great writer, musician, and as you mentioned, she was a great conversationalist, storyteller. So it is the short span of time of 60 or 61 years. She did a lot of work which we cannot consider as possible by a human being in one life. She traveled, as you mentioned, she traveled all over the globe, and it is mentioned by some biographers that she visited the Malabar coast, that is part of Kerala now, and she had been to Calicut and Cochin. We don't have proofs with us, but Colonel Alcott in his old diary leaves mentions about her extensive travels. And in 1873, she met Colonel Alcott at a deep farm, and the Theosophical Society was formed. Such are well-known facts. At the same time, the main characteristic of Blavatsky is that she was a great altruist. You mentioned about, though she was born in a royal family, she was a princess. She lived as like a pauper, without a single penny in her pocket. She was willing to share everything she had. That sacrificial attitude was the keynote of her life. But she was not ready to perform miracles. Even huge amounts were offered for performing miracles by an Indian prince. He offered nearly 1 lakh rupees if she performs a miracle. She refused to do so. So that was the character. The money which she received through her writings in Russian newspapers and some part of the ISIS Unveiled was given to the Russian Red Cross to serve the soldiers. This is also mentioned in her biographies. So the keynote was always to live to benefit humanity is the first step. That was her keynote. And she was awarded with many Masonic honors that also worth mentioning here for her writings in ISIS Unveiled. And another tribute was a diploma from a society of Savadi Bhai, Benares, accompanied by a valuable and ancient copy of Bhagavad Gita. These are some facts of the Blavatsky life, and her tributes by our C.W. late Peter on her important books like Isis Unveiled, Secret Doctrine, Key to Theosophy, Voice of the Silence, all are worth reading even after centuries of its publication. Colonel Alcott, our president founder, once mentioned about Blavatsky, three remarkable features of Blavatsky. First one was her amazing occult knowledge and phenomena working powers, together with her relation to the hidden masters. Second one, her sparkling talents, especially as a conversationalist, with her special accomplishments, wide travels, and extraordinary adventures. The third one, her insight into problems of philology, racial origins, fundamental base of religion, and keys to old mysteries and symbols. These are the 3 points mentioned by Alcott. You also mentioned several points. Now I invite our members to contribute some points if any questions or clarifications needed. So all are welcome to ask questions or raise some clarification. Thank you.
I would just like to appreciate that, first of all, Jambo and greetings from the Theosophical Society, the Lodge in Tanzania and the TOS in Tanzania. I would like to say a big thank you to the Indian section for bringing on such an eminent speaker, such an eloquent speaker, a person like Narendra Bhai, who is hailed in our East and Central African section as one of those leaders par excellence. He researches his subjects thoroughly, and whatever topic he's speaking on, we are sure to get golden nuggets from his speech. So thank you very much, Narendra Bhai. I have written a long message, and to say that you've made this day today memorable by bringing to light so many beautiful aspects of HPB's remarkable life, especially the humorous parts where I was really laughing to myself. Thank you very much. God bless, and we truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak Kapoor.
I thank Narendra Bhai.
Professor C.S. in there.
Yeah. I thank Narendra Bhai. Namaste and very greetings from the Adyar to you, and also congratulations for giving us such a nice talk. In fact, I joined 10 minutes late because we were celebrating White Lotus Day in the Adyar Hall. Even Tim Boyd gave a nice talk. And I was thinking about the last words of H.P. Blavatsky. Keep the link unbroken. As you mentioned, and you said, her will is to read Bhagavad Gita, to read Light of Asia, and to read Voice of the Silence. So is this last her sentence, to keep the link unbroken? Can we link this? Why she has made this will? The people must read if they want to really express homage to her with these readings. So she wanted to connect. Bhagavad Gita means Sri Krishna, again teachings, and Light of Asia means Buddha, and Voice of the Silence means they are taken from the golden precepts, means again the teachings of the masters of the wisdom. So we must keep our link unbroken with these teachings. That is what I am thinking. I don't know whether I am right or not, but from your talk, I got inspired with this sentence. And I am very much thankful to see you on the screen, and all the best in future. And you gave very nice talk in the sense, very, very slowly your talk really As it is said, grow as the flower grows. In the same manner, your growth was there in top. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Shinde. Keep the link unbroken. And that is what all of us should be looking at, aiming at. And this is precisely why members of the society are asked once a year to rethink what the society stands for, what its work is, and we keep on progressing, doing the work as per the times at that time. And this is one way of doing it. White Lotus Day is a day to remember the purpose of the society. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
May I add a few words?
Yes, sir.
From Los Angeles.
Yes, yes, yes.
नमस्कार,
I have
मैं कमल मनोज बोल रही हूँ। बहुत बहुत सुंदर वार्ता के लिए और इंस्पायरिंग वार्ता के लिए आप बहुत प्रेरणादायक और बहुत ही सुंदर ढंग से प्रस्तुति करने के लिए आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद भी, आभार भी, और बहुत बहुत भगवान आपको बहुत मतलब आशीर्वाद प्रदान कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि तीन मतलब हमारे पास किताबें हैं, सीक्रेट डॉक्ट्रिन, वॉइस ऑफ साइलेंस एंड ऑल्सो दिस वन भगवत गीता। तो सब चीज जब हमारे पास है, बुद्ध भी हैं, और सारे में मिला के एक ही है, एकत्व का भाव, वो सब मिला के, इसलिए आपने बहुत अच्छी प्रस्तुति दी, बहुत अच्छे मतलब इंस्टेंसेस दिए जो कि मैंने सीनेट की किताब से पढ़े, वो मुझे बहुत ही अच्छे लगे थे। एक एक करके सब मेरे सामने खुलते जा रहे थे और मुझे लग रहा था कि आप एक मतलब प्रस्तुति दे रहे हैं सुंदर। तो आपको बहुत बहुत नरेंद्र भाई बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, इंडियन सेक्शन को भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, और शिंदे साहब को भी और एडीआर को भी, सब लोगों ने जिन्होंने सुना है। और यह यात्रा जारी रहेगी, मतलब ये हमारी व्हाइट लोटस डे का पवित्रता और भव्यता का जो है आंदोलन, जो है आनंद उत्सव, वो मनता रहेगा, हर पल मनता रहे, और थियोसॉफी आगे बढ़ती जाए। बहुत बहुत नमस्कार।
I think now I'll say a few words.
Sorry, I couldn't understand. I'm
Oh,
not
I'm
familiar
sorry,
with the
मैं बोल
language.
गई English. I
So
must have
if-
spoken in the English. हिंदी बोल गई, कोई बात नहीं। No.
It's okay if somebody could just translate.
I would like to add a few things. I read that Mahatma Gandhi met Madame Blavatsky and attended her funeral. And also, the other thing is that Mr. Shinde will have a lot of details. Our past incarnations were Abul Fazl. And Mr. Dinod Dasa has written a very good book about Abul Fazl, and that is on the internet. And also she was Shivaji. Thank you very much.
Okay, she is the president of MP Rajasthan Federation, Dr. Kamal Manhat, and she appreciated your speech and referred the books you mentioned like Voice of Silence, Bhagavad Gita, and Light of Visya. And she appreciated your speech very much.
Thank you.
Okay, over to Dinakaran. Dinakaran, if you have no more question or any addition
Thank you,
from
brothers.
So
Dr. Ravindran, would you like to add something?
Sir, Dinakaran?
Dr. Ravindran, would you like to add something?
Oh.
One important thing is that there's because of her knowledge of Masonic knowledge expressed in Isis Unveiled, she was granted the highest honor which is available to a lady during her lifetime itself by 3 grandmasters. So her Masonic passport is there. There's it has been published, and her diploma, there's she has defended her diploma, that also is in the archives. So it is important to know that the society had an association with the Masonic fraternity from the early ages itself. Colonel Olcott also was a Freemason. That's all, sir.
Yes.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Her diploma date was 24th November 1877, Masonic diploma. Rite of Memphis, which she received together with a rose cross in rubies as a tribute her inner Masonic knowledge displayed in ISIS. It is mentioned in the handbook of the Indian section. As I mentioned earlier, another tribute was a diploma from the Society of Swadi Bhai Benares, accompanied by a valuable and ancient copy of the Bhagavad Gita, because she had great regard for Bhagavad Gita, especially its Marathi version Jnaneshwari by Sant Jnaneshwar. Thank you.
So thank you very much in the end. Thank you, Narendra bhai. On behalf of Indian section, I convey my gratitude, regards for your beautiful speech. And thank you, brother Dinakaranji, for well presiding the meeting. Now I request Sister Mitalini to conclude with closing prayer.
Can I just thank
Yes.
the Indian section for giving me this opportunity to talk about Madam Blavatsky. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Mitalini ji.
Narendra bhai, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Namaste to all. Om Asato ma sadgamaya Samachuma Jyotirkamaya Mrityurmang Amrutangamaya Sarve bhavantu sukhinah Sarve santu niramaya Sarve bhadrani pasyantu Nakasya dukha bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you, Narendra. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.